Hey everyone, and welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm Chrisley Kennedy, and this is the show where we bring you the day's biggest movie news, and of course we give you insight into what it all means. Joining us always is AMC Movie News Editor-in-Chief, Mr. John Campea.
Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the show, coming to you live from the Stream.TV studios here in Hollywood, California. We are so glad you decided to make us part of your day.
We also have joining us AMC's Alicia Malone.
Hello, everyone. John, can I say I'm really jealous of that patch?
Oh, yes. A lot of people will be getting these.
I want one.
Yeah, the new ones. You're going to get one. Yay. Oh, you're going to get one.
And we also have the director of the upcoming film, The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened, Mr. John Schnepp.
Hey, Chrisley, is that a New Kids on the Block t-shirt that you're wearing?
Why, yes, John Schnepp, it is.
All right, just double checking from a conversation from yesterday.
You know.
Maybe that inspired you. Whatever.
All right, the first official trailer for the upcoming Horrible Bosses 2 has just hit the web. Fed up with answering to higher-ups, Nick, Dale, and Kurt decide to become their own bosses by launching their own business in Horrible Bosses 2. But a slick investor soon pulls the rug out from under them. Outplayed and desperate, and with no legal recourse, the three would-be entrepreneurs hatch a misguided plan to kidnap the investor's adult son and ransom him to regain control of their company. The film stars Jason Bateman, Charlie Day, Jason Sudeikis, Jennifer Aniston, Jamie Foxx, Kevin Spacey, Chris Pine, and Christopher Waltz. Horrible Bosses 2 hits AMC theaters on November 26th. John, what do you think about the Horrible Bosses 2 trailer?
I love it. I love the trailer. I think it's great. Now, look, full disclosure, I'm also one of those people, I'm one of the minority of people that I really liked the first Horrible Bosses. And I know a bunch of people didn't, so I'm one of those few percentage that really did. But for whatever reason, when I watched the first one, it just hit all the right chords with me, and it made me laugh, and I enjoyed it quite a bit, and I thought it was really funny. So I was really excited to hear they're going to do a second one, and it starts off perfect. Kevin Spacey sitting down. Hello, Nick. He's like, yeah, oh, hello, guy who slept with my wife. Tell her I say hi.
Yeah.
I mean, it just hit all those right notes, and it's really good to see they were able to get, like, everybody is back that didn't die in the first one. Spoiler alert. And so Jamie Foxx being back in there as Mother Effer Jones, and like all that kind of stuff, some of the best names. And I love the chemistry between these three guys. But once again, that's predicated on the fact that I really liked the first film. And if you don't like the first film, you probably don't like the chemistry between these guys. And this trailer will probably not do it for you. But as somebody who really did like the first one, it worked for me. Anyway, Alicia, you saw the trailer. What did you think?
I liked it too, because I am also one of the minority who loved Horrible Bosses. But actually, the first film made $200 million, so we're probably not in that much of a minority. But I love these three together. Just the idea of them trying to be badasses is hilarious to me. The slow motion walk in this trailer just made me laugh. The only thing I'm concerned about is seeing Jennifer Aniston and Kevin Spacey and Jamie Foxx doing the same characters again, because I feel like, especially with Jennifer Aniston, it's lost that shock value from the first of her saying naughty things.
Agreed.
So I could do without that, but I like the idea of Chris Pine and Christoph Waltz playing father and son.
Oh.
I could never imagine those two together, so I want to see that.
Schnepp?
Yeah, I'm in the majority or minority. I don't know where I'm at, but I didn't really like Horrible Bosses, the first movie. So much so that I didn't even see the rest of it. I kind of was like, oh, okay, and then started watching and reading a comic or something. I can't remember. I didn't even realize whatever the spoiler ending is. So the trailer, though, for this looks actually funny. I laughed out loud watching it. So I might give it a shot. But for me, to me, it's like one of those sequels where it's not in my wheelhouse. So I'm like, cool, make another one, make a third one.
Yeah, I just hope it's more 22 Jump Street than Hangover Part 2. And that it manages to do the same thing but funnier.
This one could be funnier. Actually, this teaser trailer kind of sold me like, I might see this one in the theater. So.
You raise an interesting point about the Jennifer Aniston character, because you're right. There really is a high potential danger of her shtick, the shtick of her character being worn out and played. The only thing that I can think they can do to get around that is by pushing her character even further.
Which it looks like they're doing with what she's saying in this trailer.
If that is the cleanest, most innocent thing she says in the movie, then I'm curious to see where they go. Because this could get pretty...
Could it be a thing with this, because this is a teaser where they're only showing like, hey, remember all these people from the first movie?
Yeah,
they're back, and then the second fuller trailer will reveal more of the plot.
Well, I'm sure, because look, we didn't see Christoph Waltz.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting.
We got a flash of Chris Pine.
Just a very quick thing of Chris Pine, so I'm sure we're going to get a lot more in the next trailer. But at least this trailer gave us a little bit of an insight as to what this movie's about. They don't just have bad bosses again, and so I kind of like that they give that to us.
Slow motion walking.
I think we're going to do that. that when we're leaving the studio today.
That's right.
All right, what's next?
It's been 7 years since the film Enchanted was in AMC theaters, and it looks like a sequel is finally getting some movement. It's being reported that the Shrek 2 writing team of J. David Stem and David M. Weiss to develop the script. No word yet if any of the original stars of Enchanted, which included Amy Adams, Patrick Dempsey, James Marsden, Idina Menzel, and Susan Sarandon, will return. Alicia, would you be excited for a sequel to Enchanted?
I hope Adele Dazeem comes back.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's actually Adele.
I wanted to
Dazeem.
do it, but I didn't want to get in trouble.
I'm actually not excited for a sequel, and that's not because I didn't like the first, because I really did. I thought it was very smart. It played on all those Disney princess cliches, but I just feel like it wrapped up in a perfect way, literally happily ever after.
Yeah.
So I hope that if they do a sequel, they follow a different story, maybe Adele Dazeem's character in the animated world. I loved Amy Adams in the first. She was cast perfectly at the time.
Is it fair to say this is probably the movie that made everybody fall in love with her?
This launched her
Exactly.
career.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's
Well,
hard to believe it was 7 years ago because she's been in so many movies.
Yeah,
since
she'd been nominated at the time for 1 Oscar, but that was for a really small movie. Since then, 4 more nominations. So I'm sure she has a lot of other offers on the table. I like the first, but unless they do something completely different, I'm not interested. Because again, like we were talking about with Horrible Bosses, the fun for this, it was the juxtaposition of her character in the real world.
Right.
Once you lose that, I don't know where you go.
See, it's going to be really interesting to see what they do here because I have a feeling we're not going to see any of these characters back. I have a feeling this is just going to be another movie with the Enchanted title on it.
Yeah.
And maybe we're wrong. Maybe I'm wrong about that. The thing that excites me about this is the whole team behind Shrek 2. Shrek 2 is one of those rare films where the sequel in my opinion, it really exceeded the original film. I think Shrek 2 was the best of the Shrek films. I love that movie. And they also did the best of the Smurf movies. That's odd to say, but out of the 2 Smurf movies, the first Smurf movie was the best Smurf movie.
If you had to pick one of the
Slightly.
2 Smurfs,
Yes.
both floating in a weird island of weirdness, one of them is better than the other.
Yes, one is better than the
guys
other,
are-
and they did the better one of that. But I just don't know that this Enchanted, this new one, is going to look anything like the original. Hey, Schnepp, what do you
I
think?
fall into the Dream Crusher category. I don't care. I'm happy that the first Enchanted was such a lovely film, which I never saw.
Yeah, it was lovely.
It is lovely.
I heard
It's
it
a
was
nice
great,
film.
but
Yeah.
it's just one of those films where, I'm glad that there's a group of people who are going to go see this second one. It won't be me.
All right, folks. So listen, we've reached that part of the show for buy or sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Crystal Lee's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down. Then Schnepp, Alicia, and I are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Crystal Lee, what do we got?
Paramount Pictures recently announced that G.I. Joe 3 would hit theaters in 2016, but no movement has happened on the film since until now. It's being reported that Paramount has hired Jonathan Lemkin to develop the script. Lemkin was a writer on such TV shows as Hill Street Blues and the original 21 Jump Street series, as well as movies such as The Devil's Advocate and Lethal Weapon. 4. There is still no director on the project since G.I. Joe 2 director John Chu left the project. Dennis is not here.
Dennis is sick
so
and dropped
we're
the
going to
last
go to
second.
Schnepp, buy or sell Lemkin writing G.I. Joe 3.
If I was Dennis, I would sell this. He's like, no, I wouldn't Schnepp. I like that picture, though. Is that Lemkin? And then The Rock's got a gun at his head?
Yeah.
Write a good script.
Yeah, you better not fail. You know what? I'm in the minority here. I actually liked parts of G.I. Joe, the first movie. I found it was like, a silly, fun, crazy, toys acting as human beings, kind of fun adventure.
Yeah.
And G.I. Joe 2, the second one, was in the same realm for me. I enjoyed it. I didn't hate it. It wasn't one of my top films of last year or 2 years ago when it came out, but I'll see a G.I. Joe 3. I mean, it's kind of a hard formula to mess up. It's not like some other films where they keep getting worse. It's just like, hey, if you like this, we're going to change up some of the characters. Hey, look, The Rock's in it now. He's awesome. Some explosions, some cool action. That's how I felt about it. So,
Alicia?
Well, I'm not a fan of these movies, and they haven't done very well. I just don't think they found a good way to make them succeed. I mean, the international box office saved them from being a total disaster, but here in the US, both those movies opened pretty badly considering their production budget.
Right,
So I'm
and
not
their
interested.
marketing.
Yeah, I'm not interested in a third at all, but something I heard which could be kind of interesting, I imagine, for people who played with Transformers and G.I. Joe is the possibility of a crossover.
some people
Well, they've been
would-
talking about that for a long time.
Some people
Yeah.
would not like that.
Yeah.
Like me. I would not like that.
Well, here's the thing. The thing about this is, look, the first G.I. Joe film is one of those films every once in a while that you say you think is really going to suck. Like, I was like that for 21 Jump Street. I said, man, this movie is going to be a disaster. This is going to be awful. Wow, it was awesome. G.I. Joe, not so much to the same extent, but it wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. What I liked about the first G.I. Joe film was that it kind of broke this horrible trend in Hollywood for at least a little while of all action has to have the cameras being held by, you know, an epileptic monkey. You know, that's the whole idea. And G.I. Joe, the action sequences were, look, honestly, beautifully shot. You could tell all the action that was happening. I thought it out dramatic, and so the movie wasn't a complete loss for me. I wasn't a big fan of the second G.I. Joe film, but adding a guy like Lemkin here, look at his background. Like, great serial drama like Hill Street Blues. Now, this is going back a ways, but still like comedy and fun with the 21 Jump Street. Heavy stuff like The Devil's Advocate. But he also wrote my favorite Lethal Weapon film, which was Lethal Weapon 4, which kind of introduced the world to Jet Li. You put a guy like this onto writing the script, who's got that kind of a background, suddenly I'm like, I'm interested in seeing what this G.I. Joe would look like. So for me, it's going to be a buy. All right, what's
More
next?
Channing Tatum.
Yes.
WWE superstar John Cena has just signed on as a villain in the upcoming Tina Fey and Amy Poehler comedy The Nest, which will be helmed by Pitch Perfect director Jason Moore. The Nest follows two sisters who throw one last party in their parents' house before it goes up for sale. Jeanette, buy or sell John Cena joining The Nest?
I'm going to buy it. I love Tina Fey and I love Amy Poehler. They can do no wrong. So I can only imagine that they're adding him as some kind of weird beefcake dude that they're both gonna like mess with, or he's the landlord. They're gonna have to fight him. You know, he's a wrestler. Maybe he's gonna have some incredible suplexes happening. Who knows? But yeah, I think I'm actually looking forward to this film. Amy Poehler, anytime she's on screen, she makes me laugh. And same with Tina Fey. So
I'm gonna sell it. John Cena cannot act at all. I mean, this isn't as outrageous as some other situations because I believe it's pretty clear this is going to be a small minor role. Right. So that's fine, whatever. And he's actually going to be in a Judd Apatow either.
Trainwreck.
Trainwreck. That's right. He's going to be in that. Once again, probably going to be a very small minor role. But I saw, what was that WWE? The Marine. I saw The Marine.
In 12 rounds.
Oh, not very good.
But they're not adding him on for that role.
I know.
He's in there for a totally different reason.
Here's the funny thing. My wife actually watches this show called Total Divas or whatever, and it's a show that that follows the female wrestlers of the WWE. And John Cena's actually either engaged to one of them or whatever.
One of the twins.
Yes. And I'm very curious how you know that.
I don't know. I've watched it.
Strange how you both know this.
But I mean, I used to watch a lot of wrestling when I was younger. But anyway, from everything I see, like I've seen some documentary stuff and whatever on this. Actually, as much as I'm going to harp on him this guy's not an actor. This is a really good human being. This is a really nice, legitimately good human being. So I'm happy for his success, and maybe he can break out. Maybe he's been learning through all these failures that he's had as far as acting goes, and maybe getting these little small roles would be nice for him. I just can't get excited. The other thing about this film is that it sounds a lot. I know I bring up this movie all the time. It sounds a lot to me like the story and the scenario for Good Old Fashioned Orgy, because in that movie it's Jason Sudeikis. His father is selling the family home, and he decides to throw one big last hurrah. Of course, his big last hurrah was an orgy, but in this case, so it sounds kind of similar. But you're right; these two can do no wrong. No. They're just awesome together. I can't wait to see it. Alicia?
I buy because of Amy Poehler, Tina Fey. Even though they're not writing the script, I imagine that John Cena will be used in the right way, and that he won't need to act so much.
Right. What are they going to do to him?
Yeah.
What are they going to do to him? Fight over him? What's going to happen?
It'll
double
be
team him?
Fun also to see him as a villain because he's always playing the hero.
Always the good guy, the face.
And he's hilarious in those wrestling bits. I love the whole story, how they set up how these two are going to fight. It reminds me of Porn, when Porn used to have a story. It's like setting up the conceit. And
maybe he's dating one of them and then tries
I'm
to
offended. What do you mean
Yeah.
used to have a story?
Yeah, it doesn't anymore. It's all, anyway.
I still remember, actually, this is funny. This is going into a different level, but like I said, when I was younger, I used to watch a lot of wrestling. And so now, even with some of my friends, like every year, like when WrestleMania comes along, me and my buddies will still get together and we'll watch WrestleMania. And like Ann grew up watching wrestling, so she's all into it and everything. But I remember when The Rock came back to wrestling, and obviously it was to help promote Fast and the Furious 4. But The Rock came back to wrestling for a short time, and they instantly set up this big feud between him and John Cena.
Yep.
And The Rock, over the course of about 3 months of building up this match at WrestleMania, he just like verbally just eviscerated John Cena. And this goes to show that Cena was such a good sport to let The Rock shine by just destroying him with the best Rock insults I have ever heard was during that time period. And we spent way too much time on this point.
No, Rock's insults are legendary.
They are. All right, what's next?
Wrestling does that to you. It makes you spend far too much time on it. Things are moving forward on WB's new project, ODYSSEUS, which is based on the classic Homer's film, The Odyssey. Stalingrad director Fedor Bondarchuk has been brought on to direct the film. Homer's epic poem that tells the tale of Odysseus, a Greek king who, following the events of the Trojan War, finds himself on a long, strange journey home that puts him up against cannibals, sea monsters, sirens, and a cyclops, and was the basis for the George Clooney film, Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou? John, buy or sell Fedor Bondarchuk directing ODYSSEUS.
I'm enthusiastically, I'm going to buy this. Stalingrad, while it had its issues, and some of the issues with Stalingrad might be because some stuff might get lost in translation. It's a Russian film that's subtitled. But when you look, it's an epic film. Looking at the Battle of Stalingrad, one of the most turning point in the 1940s of the war. And the way it's shot is beautiful. And I think if you're going to do a film like this, taking on Homer's The Odyssey, if you can get a director with those types of sensibilities to bring it to, I think this opens up a really interesting world of possibilities. So for me, it's going to be a buy. Alicia?
I tentatively buy this too. I haven't actually seen Stalingrad as much as I love foreign films, but I was reading a lot of reviews about it, and they all said that the spectacle was beautiful. The production design was gorgeous, but the story was lacking. So, great solution, bring on a classic story that has stood the test of time, that has been featured in many films before, like The Odyssey, and there you go, you probably have a perfect match. It sounds fun.
Or The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad with a Cyclops. I'm all in, and you know what, I agree with you. I read a lot of reviews on Stalingrad, which made me feel like I didn't really want, like, there was another film that came out that was very similar to that, this very long kind of war film. But I saw the trailer, and the trailer is incredible. I was like, wow, that's visually amazing. So it did make me want to see the film. I'm like, even if the story's not that great, I think it'll probably be visually amazing.
Yeah.
So hearing that he's going to take over something that's already a tried and true story, bringing his element of visual storytelling, I think is a good call. So I'm going to buy it even without having seen Stalingrad.
The trailer looks like, and it's not as good as the film itself, but the trailer looks like a better version of Saving Private Ryan. When you look at the trailer, that's what it feels like, a better Saving Private Ryan. The movie is not better than Saving Private Ryan. Let me be clear about that. But it's a really good trailer. You should look it up. It's really good. Anyway, folks, we've reached that part of the show for a mailbag. Listen, we always have time in our show to take questions from the mailbag. So if you've got a topic or a question you'd like us to address on the show, email us anytime at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Every single day we take a little time to address a couple of questions that are in there. But listen, I'm also going to let you know, if you're watching us live, and we do this show live every day, Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, you can hop on Twitter right now and tweet to us at AMC Movie News. Chris Lee is going to look through the Twitter stream and pick out a couple questions you guys sent in live, but we'll do that at the end of the show. For now, it's time for mailbag. So Chris Lee, what's in there?
Nicholas Lemister writes, "Hey AMC, I love your show. My question is about Wolverine. Over the years, many X-Men and even standalone Wolverine movies have been made, but in none of those movies does Wolverine wear his original black and yellow attire. Is this just because they want to make the movies more modern and they think his costume is too cheesy? Do you think we will ever see Wolverine in his original comic book attire?"
I think the reason they did it is because they didn't want him to look stupid. Look,
it's a hard outfit to pull off.
The costume of Wolverine is a great example of something I talk about all the time when it comes to comic book films, right? That just because something works a certain way on the printed page, it does not mean that that will translate well into the live action screen. The classic Wolverine outfit is awesome in a comic book. It works. It's great. It's wonderful. You put that outfit in a live action movie. Like, imagine the impact that type of an outfit would have had if right in the middle of X-Men Days of Future Past, that kind of a movie, and all of a sudden Hugh Jackman pops up, yellow with spandex. You know, it would have been laughable. Yeah. This is just one of those things. And look, don't take that as a knock on the classic look. It's perfect for the printed page. We should celebrate it. But once again, just because a certain story arc, a certain type of dialogue, or a certain look for a character in a comic book works, it doesn't mean it'll work on the live action screen. I think it would be horrible. And I think a lot of people who aren't comic book fans, which is 99% of the population, if they go into an X-Men movie and see him wearing that outfit, they're laughing. And I just don't think it'll work. Anyway, Alicia, how do you see it?
Well, I was reading an interview with James Mangold, who said that he actually put into a scene which was cut out from the movie, that Wolverine was on a plane, he was given a box, he opens the box and it's the costume. And he reacts to it. But they cut it out because it didn't really go with where the character was going with Days of Future Past. So maybe we'll see a nod to it in Wolverine 3. I think that would be okay if maybe he pulled it out of the box and went, no, or something. But as far as seeing him wear it, he can pull off a lot of things, Hugh Jackman, but I'm doubtful that he will look good
I can totally see him holding, I can totally see the camera on him holding up,
be a nice
looking
nod,
at the person's handing it to him and him going, no. Or something like that. Anyway.
Well, that clip's on YouTube. You can check it out. I've
yes,
seen
it is.
Yeah, so it's literally the same kind of headgear, but it's all like brown leather. So, so there's no yellow in it. It's just kind of like, it's more like a...
Which is another incarnation of the comic book Wolverine.
Yeah, it's like kind of like a ninja-esque suit. But you know, the one thing that's great about Bryan Singer's X-Men is they kind of, except for Cyclops, they got rid of the idea of having to wear masks. It was more like, hey, we're all wearing this kind of a group uniform, which was kind of okay for me as well. I agree. I mean, being a comic book head and growing up loving comic books and reading them all the way to still reading them now, it's totally different. It's a different world than movies and television. In books. It's a 4-color world where people are hanging out, having a sandwich with costumes on. Like hanging out around the Justice League or the Avengers. Like, listen, Hawkeye, all wearing their headgear and stuff. It's changed now, but I'm saying nowadays they've added the Ultimates and they've added an infusion of reality where, well, we just wear this only when we're on a mission. Yet they're still wearing bright, strange orange costumes, spandex style, hundreds of them together. Like, should we fight these villains?
And every female superhero character has to have an exposed midriff.
Yes. I know, that's why I can never cosplay.
So yeah, I mean, it makes total sense that they wouldn't have it, especially with the way the movies are now. If they introduced this version of Wolverine, it would have to be a completely different style of filmmaking where everyone has these super colorful costumes. It wouldn't take place in the real world. It would be in this alternate universe. So, I mean, I know a lot of special comic book fans get upset about this, where it's like, why don't they just stick to the original outfit? And it's like, well, then everything would have to be different. The things that you actually like about the movies would totally have to be different. Well, I don't like the movies. Well, then let's stop talking. So, it's like,
all right, what's next?
Andrew Harris writes, hey there, movie talkers. Love the show. With Apocalypse appearing in the next X-Men movie, Thanos showing up in Guardians of the Galaxy and Avengers 3, and Darkseid rumored to be the main villain in Justice League, do you think it might be confusing to some audiences, being that all three of these comic book baddies look strikingly similar to one another? Thanks and keep up the great work.
You know, it's funny because I hear this quite a bit. It's like, oh, Darkseid and Thanos and whatever, they all kind of look alike. And honestly, I see it in the chin. Maybe it's just I've been reading comics too long. I really have never had a problem distinguishing between, especially Apocalypse. Apocalypse is the most unlike the two. If you want to just talk about Thanos and Darkseid, there are some design similarities, but I have personally never had a problem looking at an image and knowing, oh, that's Thanos, or oh, that's Darkseid, or certainly not for Apocalypse. So I don't think so. I think Thanos, and I think we got this from the end of Avengers, I think Thanos is going to be quite colorful. We already see that. And Darkseid is not, like at all. They're big, brooding, very square lines kind of designed characters. I get that, but honestly, I have never had a problem distinguishing them myself. But I don't know, Alicia, you don't have the comic book background that, like, say, Schnepp and I do. Do you find a problem distinguishing between the characters?
They're really confusing to me.
Really? Okay,
they all
there you
look
go.
the same. They all look like, get off my lawn.
Super villains, get off my lawn,
Why
superheroes.
order, crazy kids. I just don't know enough about their backgrounds, not having read comic books when I was younger, to know the difference between them all. But I'm sure that the movies, like Marvel always does, will set them up properly over several movies. So by the time they get their big flashy movie, I'll understand. But right now, yeah, I'm totally confused.
No.
All right, well, coming from the super comic nerd background, like Jack Kirby created Darkseid, and he actually kind of was like almost normal size. He wasn't always this thick granite giant character that Jim Starlin created Thanos. And he always had this giant body. He always had this massive look. He almost has like kind of a Skrull chin, so to speak.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So those characters were different, completely different. They both obviously had like the I want to own planets and like take over and own the world and own the universe. So that's the similarity with them. Apocalypse. He's also a totally different character. I mean, I see most supervillains as like, they have an issue. Most of it's like, I want to. You should just listen to me.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I don't understand why you aren't just listening to me. Whether
Kids.
it's not just the lawn; it's the whole planet.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the crux of it. Them looking a little similar. It's just kind of, I think it comes from the bulk size of them, how they all look now. And also the kind of brooding, square-shaped, dark face with a weird chin strap. So maybe one of them's got to lose the chin strap.
Yes, please.
All right, folks. Well, I said we would leave a little bit of time for your live Twitter questions, and we're going to do just that. Maybe you still got time to sneak in one or two. Once again, tweet us at AMC Movie News. Chris Ali, what's going on in the Twitter stream?
Rock Salzar wants to know if you think it's a good idea to not kill off bad guys at the end of movies to leave possibilities of a sequel.
I think it depends on the film and what your story does. Sometimes I think you set up this great villain and you just leave the door open. Don't kill him off. Leave the door open. That at least extends to you the possibility of revisiting them if you need to or if you so want to. Unless you have this great dramatic thing that you can do. Man of Steel, the end of that. The death of Zod, spoiler. The death of Zod was so integral to a dramatic note in the film that I believe will also have repercussions in further films. That served a real purpose, and I totally got that. But I prefer when they leave the villain alive at the end, as long as if it's a villain I really dig, just to keep that possibility alive. What do you think, Alicia?
If it's done in the right way, there's nothing I hate more than films that just leave themselves open to a sequel, just hoping that the film will do as good business, but isn't actually a good movie within itself.
Right.
So sometimes you never see the completed story because they're like, oh, there might be more. So it has to be done in the right way. They can do it.
Well, also I remember. When I was a lot younger, I saw Batman, and the Joker dies at the end.
Yeah.
He falls off a building, and in The Dark Knight, almost the same ending. Him hanging from a building. I was like, are they going to kill the Joker in this too? Even though, unfortunately, Heath Ledger had passed, I was like, but he's saved, but we all knew he couldn't return.
Right.
So it was one of those extra sour things. But in the original Batman, yeah, the Joker got killed, so I was like, darn, I guess he's not going to be in the second one. So, but with Batman, you have so many amazing villains. I was glad because it opened the door for the Penguin, Two-Face, all these different characters. So, it really depends. With movies, I see it like if they're going to do a trilogy and it's already kind of like, and after we do this trilogy, we're not doing a fourth one, it's okay in my mind. So
another good example of a really good dramatic service for the death of a villain, Die Hard.
Yeah.
Hans Gruber at the end, right? Like, that's perfect. All right, what else is in the Twitter
Also
stream?
falling off a building.
Yes, also falling off a building.
The only way to kill him, fall off a very tall building.
Very tall.
Polly C says, hey guys, I was wondering if there's any talk or plans of a remake or reboot of Jaws.
Yeah. Yeah. There was absolutely talk of it. But I just think shark movies in general are played out. I think we saw that with Shark Night. I think we saw that with Deep Blue Sea.
Except for Sharknado, which can continue
Sharknado.
forever as far as I'm concerned.
Right, but let's keep that in perspective. Nobody paid $10 to go to a theater to watch Sharknado, and nor would they have, really. So I think the shark thing's just played out. What do you guys think?
Well, I just hope they never do it because Jaws is one of my favorite movies ever, and I hate when films have to remake it because I'm like, just go watch the original. It
But
still
people
holds
won't.
up.
But people
I know,
won't.
But they should. This is where I get angry old man.
You gotta get pragmatic. You gotta get
Yeah.
pragmatic.
Yeah, I don't think there's any call for a Jaws remake. It's like if people want to see the movie, then they're gonna see the original movie, and it still holds up.
It
so see
does.
Jaws if you
Oh,
never
it
saw it.
still
It's not
holds
like
up.
a
Brilliantly
man.
holds
I
up.
see Jaws, children. It's a really freaky, cool, scary, amazing film with
Yeah.
incredible acting.
Because of the way it was shot, and they
Yeah.
didn't show the shark for
It's
a lot
Spielberg
of times.
when
It
he was
still
at his
holds up.
prime. So.
Yeah.
It's late
Even
and
before his
I wanna
prime.
go home. I'm tired and I wanna go to bed. Okay, anyway, let's take two more.
Travis Lynch wants to know, what's the best audience reaction you have ever experienced at a movie theater? Thanks.
I might be wrong about this because maybe I'm only thinking in recent things, but a couple years ago, the first screening I went to of the Avengers, after Captain America turns to the Hulk and say, "Hulk, smash," and then he spends 30 seconds just leaping from building to building, annihilating all the Chitauri. It was just, and the reaction in the audience that I was in, it was in the El Capitan Theater in Hollywood with a bunch of jaded, crockety film critics packed the place, all losing our minds. It was one of the best reactions I've ever seen. And it was the scene that made me, when I first walked out of the Avengers for the first time, my hands were literally doing this. I was so excited. I was just so thrilled with what I had just seen. But that moment, the audience went nuts. What about you guys? What do you remember?
For the Avengers, I felt that way through the whole film. Like we saw in a packed house, everybody was just so into it. Most recently, though, was Pacific Rim, when that one kaiju sprung its wings, grabbed the robot, and smashed it through a bunch of buildings, and then went into outer space and pulled out that sword. I was like, yeah! I was like screaming out loud, and everyone in the rows with me, I didn't see behind me, was doing the same thing. We were all like just enraptured by this amazing cinematic moment that was so beautiful and fantastic that I loved.
You know what reminded me a lot of that also got a really huge reaction? Godzilla doing his nuclear fire breath.
Yes.
Right? Like that, when he did that.
When he finally did
Yeah.
then
that,
people lost their minds.
Definitely. And coming from Australia, you know, the audiences are really quiet. They do not say anything. They barely even cheer. They don't clap at the end of a movie, which I found so weird when I came to America. I was like, who are you clapping for?
They just had that.
They're not actually right there. Yeah.
They all do that.
Just
They break out the
boomerang,
didgeridoos.
just boomerang. So I can't remember what the film was, but the first film I saw in America with a packed house, it was like, what is going on? This is amazing. People yelling things at the screen, carrying on. And then one of the best ones, I can't remember what the name of the movie was because it's a horrible Nicholas Sparks movie with Julianne Hough. And
I know the one you're talking about.
And at the end, spoiler alert, where the wife is revealed to be a ghost.
It was the ghost, yeah.
Someone just went, oh, come on. And it was hilarious because it was what we're all thinking.
I've told this story once before, but the first time I went to go see, the only time I went to go see Battlefield Earth. Yeah. It was in a theater in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. And I was working at a visual effects company at the time, so like we all wanted to go because the visuals in it looked really amazing at the time. So we go to see it. Battlefield Earth is a top contender for my absolute worst big Hollywood film.
Leverage, John Campion.
Leverage.
John Travolta.
But I remember the movie was so awful, and we all knew every excruciating second how bad it was, and it was a packed theater. And it was so bad that when the movie ended, you know, when a movie ends and the credits start to roll, people start to shuffle around, getting their coats or whatever, standing up, nobody moved. When the credits start to roll, it's like everybody was like a deer in the headlights. And about 5 or 6 seconds after this incredibly awkward, tense silence in this theater, you heard one guy near the front of the theater just yell out, "What the hell was that?" And the whole theater just like erupted in laughter.
Love that.
Amazing.
Oh my gosh. All right, folks. Well, listen, that'll do it for us. We're all out of time. Thanks so much for joining us today for AMC Movie Talk. Listen, don't forget, lots of really good films playing in AMC theaters right now. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for your theater, showtime, and your movie ticket information. Listen, don't forget, if you're not already a subscriber to us, click on the subscribe button. Become a subscriber to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel, and click the thumbs up button on this video. It's just a good way of letting other people know and letting us know that you like the videos we're listening to, that we're making for you, that we're listening to. If you want to listen to an audio-only version of this show, look in the description of this video, and you'll find links to our iTunes feed so you can listen to us on your way to work or at the gym or wherever you'd like. I want to thank, first of all, the people sitting at the table with me. Sitting to my immediate right is Miss Alicia Malone. Alicia, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, just Alicia Malone, all one word.
Writer-director Mr. John Schnepp. Schnepp, where can people find you online?
Leverage, humans. Twitter and Instagram. John Schnepp. I'm searching for your gold. Put on your breathe masks. Leverage.
Can you do like your entire next show that way?
Leverage.
Yes.
Leverage.
And of course, our lovely host today, Miss Chrisley Kennedy. Chrisley, where can people find you online?
You can find me on all the social medias at Chrisley.
And you can find me on the various social media channels just at John Campea. Thanks a lot for joining us, guys. Until tomorrow, my name's John Campea for AMC Movie News. And until then, bye-bye.
Hey everyone, if you liked this video, click that thumbs up button and make sure to subscribe to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It's free and helps you stay up to date with all the latest movie news, as well as our daily AMC Movie Talk show. Also, make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with all of our special promotions, contests, and prize giveaways.